Hi and welcome. My name's Brendan Kelly. Today's conversation is all about making what we've already talked about real. In a live presentation, I invited somebody from the audience to come up and to go through the process that we've already been working through. And Mary volunteered. This is how the conversation went with Mary. Let's work backwards. Let's go from the idea of what is our end game to what do we need to be doing tomorrow. Well, here's your invitation to think about who do I want to be 12 months from now? Who is the person that I will be 12 months from this point forward? In fact, who is the person I will be at the end of this game? The game, not necessarily the game of life, the game of creating wealth, job, work. What do I want at the back end? So I'm going to, the modelling here is, if this is me today, and I'm on a journey to, say, financial freedom, to a retirement. Hands up, who wants to be working at 90? Yes? Excellent. Working at 90 to put food on the table, or working at 90 because you love it?
Because you love it.
Love it. Yes, not because you want to put food on the table. Yeah, consider the difference. Right, so let's create the path that we don't actually need to work to put food on the table, but we can work because we want to work. You see the subtlety there? Massive difference, but subtle. Right, so if we want this picture of the shiny bright you, I don't know, shiny bright you, if we go for the shiny bright you concept, how do we get from you here to you there? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about you here, macro picture about the journey, and drill back down to you there. You okay if we do that? Did you see the idea?
Yep.
And from knowing what this is, I can then determine with you from here what's next. So this is a journey with Mary. And Mary and I are going to take Mary on a journey. So Mary needs to, or Mary can figure out what Mary needs to do tomorrow. Comfortable? Good. All right, life goals. What are life goals? What? Imagine, cast your mind forward, going to the idea of who is this shiny you at the back end? What does life look like for you?
I'd like to have my own house with a view.
Can you hear that, Tony?
Yes.
Yes, okay, great. Your own house with you.
And be able to have an income so that I don't have to go out and work on an hourly basis.
Good. So this income is kind of passive. It comes from an asset base that you've created for yourself. Yes?
Yes.
All right, wonderful. How much is that income?
200,000.
Okay, now you can say 200 a year because he's prompted a bigger picture than 100.
I
but-
used to say 100.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So pick a line in the sand that you would actually genuinely be comfortable with, that you believe is something that would work for you.
150.
150? All right. So we now have a target of 150k per annum. Yep?
Yes.
All right, that's our back end game. Okay. Now, as part of that is, you said you also wanted a house. Do you own that house now?
I own a house.
A house, yep. But the house that is the dream house, the shiny you house, tell me about that house. Is it much bigger than the one you've got right now, more expensive than the one you've got right now?
Doesn't necessarily have to be bigger.
Yep.
Perhaps even an apartment with a view.
Okay, good. Do we assume it's about the same price?
No, it'll have to be more.
Have you gone? Okay, lovely. What's the price difference?
$1 million?
The price difference is $1 million over and above what you got now? Okay, good. So we need, therefore, $1 million more than what the asset base is required to deliver this income in order for you to have your home. Yep. So
Let's go through that again.
Yeah, sure. So I have a home now,
Yep.
and I'm pretty happy with my home. And what I want is an apartment with a view.
Yep.
And you're saying the price difference between there and there is $1 million, yes?
Yes.
Yes? Right. This $1 million, do you happen to have a lazy $1 million hanging around?
I do actually.
Yay! Lovely! Congratulations.
Sorry, not quite.
Not quite?
Not quite, yeah.
Okay.
Together with my house, yes.
There would be enough to pay for that. So what you've got hanging around plus the house is enough to pay for this apartment approximately.
Yeah.
Yeah? All right. So I don't need to factor the cost of buying your dream home into the money I need to have at the back end. It's already there.
Yeah.
Right. So, thank you. Where we're at right now then is, where are you? If this is a journey for you, while Mary's doing the exercise, you've got pads and pads, yes? Your job is to think about you now. This is a workshop. This is an exercise for you to be learning about you. What is your end game goal? What is your passive income? And what is the house you want to be living in? They're the two probably biggest ticket items you need to be considering. What are they for you? And I want you to put a dollar amount on them, yeah? I want you to know what your passive income is, your non-earned income is. And if you have a house value that you think you want to live in as a back-end game for you, something that you would just be joyful driving into as you get home from whatever you're doing. The trip to Hawaii, you get home, let's say. All right, whatever that is, figure out the value of that, yeah? Now, if that house is much more than what you have available to you right now, then you're going to have to factor that difference in. Does that make sense? You're going to have to create that money from something. Do you see that point? Yeah? Hands up though for that's confusing. Okay, great. So Mary is in a position where she doesn't need to worry about adding the house value. She's pretty comfortable with that and she's got a grip on that. Wonderful. We now need to create the $150,000 of passive income for her. All right. Cool. Thank you. So let's start to build the end game and what it looks like. So if you've got $150,000 of passive income, $150,000 of passive income. Question for you, the big when. When would you like that?
Within 2 years?
Within 2 years. All right, good. Is that exciting?
Mm-hmm.
That's very exciting. Is it realistic? Is it realistic?
Yes.
Wonderful. As a declaration, yes. Do we put that to the test? Yes. Happy to put that to the test?
Yes.
Lovely. So the way we figure this out, again, the journey is yours. It doesn't matter what numbers Mary have. What matters is your numbers. Yes? So the question for you is, knowing now the income that you want and the price difference you have in asset base between the house you're currently living in and the house you want, the question for you is, when would you like that? When in your life would you like that? 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 15, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Put a line in the sand for when you want that. Got it? Excellent. 2 years. So I'm going to say we're here today. Yep. And 2 years we need to build an asset base such at whatever point we declare, which is 2 years from now, we then take that money and we create a passive income from it. Yeah? And you're saying that's 2 years. Yes? All right. Good. The question I have is, how big does that need to be? What is that asset base that will give you the $150,000 of passive income? Yeah? Cool. The way to figure that out is to figure out what that value is there. What is the rate of return on this money that you're going to get? Yeah? So, if I was to rent out a property, I have a place in Brunswick, I rent it out, and I'm going to be getting what sort of yield?
2%.
2%. Lovely. So if I have a property of $1 million in Brunswick, no debt, I'm earning $20,000 a year. Are we excited by that?
No.
Not generally, no. We're not really rubbing our hands and going, woohoo, good buying decision, yes? Okay, if I was to buy a $1 million home or two $500,000 homes, let's say, in a mining town that we thought was okay in a mining town, at least for a short period of time, if we were to buy in a mining town, what sort of rental return can we expect in a mining town? 10, 8, 12, yeah, depending upon the mining town and the demand to want to be there, yeah? Is that a bit better as a return than maybe 2%?
Yes.
Yes. So somewhere, can you see then logically somewhere, the rate of return is going to be somewhere probably between 2% and 12%, yeah? I'm going to create an arbitrary amount here of 8%. let's call it 8%. So if we're pretty good with our investing, we can get a commercial property, might be an office, might be a retail outlet. But if we, maybe one of those factoriettes sort of things in a complex, we could get a combination of higher yielding properties or lower yielding properties. Let's just say we can get 8%. Does that sound like a reasonable amount for you? Hands up those who say, what, are you kidding?
It's reasonable.
It's reasonable. Let's run with reasonable. All right. If I want then, and this is where it comes in for you, what percentage, what rate of return would you be happy or do you believe you can get? Yeah? If this is 5%, can you see that that needs to be bigger? If this is 2%, can you see that needs to be huge? Yeah. If this is 50%, can you see that needs to be much smaller? Yeah? Yeah? So what is the rate of return that you're happy with? It's a powerful number. It's an important number. But you need to be confident and believe that you can get that, yes? Yeah. So I invite you now to write down what your rate of return is that you believe that you can get. So write that down. I would recommend that you have no debt because you don't want the vulnerability of the banks calling in or making it difficult or fluctuations in interest rates, yeah? My encouragement would be to have no debt and bought these things outright. And that would be the income from those things purchased outright. Yep? Beautiful. Smaller things bought outright is going to be safer and more comfortable to live with than larger things with a loan, yielding the same in-pocket amount. Cool. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Good. All right. So I'm going to need someone who's left their phone on. Lovely. Chris, can I please get you to do, and this is how you need to figure out your amount up here. Can I please get you to do 150,000
1875000
divided by 8%
1875000
is 1875000. Yes?
Yeah.
Yep. Right. In order for you to figure out what the size of your asset base is, take what your income is and divide it by the interest rate that you think you can get, or the return that you think you can get. Yes? Remember, this is your income and your return on investment. So therefore, you're now determining your asset base size. Yeah? Now we need to figure out, this is where it works for you. This is your end game picture. Remember how we said that we would start macro picture. Yeah? We'll start figuring out what this is to figure out what I need to do here. Yeah? We've now figured out what this is for you. You've now figured out the asset base requirement that you need that's going to give you a certain rate of return that's going to give you your passive income. Wonderful. That's the size of life. Don't forget to add in your house. Remember how we talked about the difference between what you've got now as what you're living in and the house you're dreaming to live in? There's a price difference. Don't forget to add that price difference in to this asset base amount that you've just created for yourself. Yeah? So if Mary needed that $1 million, let's say, if Mary needed that $1 million, then this wouldn't be 1.875 anymore, it'd be 2.875. Can you see that? Because she's got to have a house without debt, and she's got to have enough to live off. Cool. But in Mary's case, it's 1.875. Right. Now I want to start drilling back to what do I need to be doing tomorrow. Okay, if we start that journey? Hands up who no.
Yep.
Yes.
Very lovely. It's a process that I call half-life third value. Yeah, it's a form of equation, mathematical relationship. Mary is not going to start there and linearly grow like that. That's not going to happen. Mary is going to grow in her wisdom and her skill and her ability over time, and towards the back end of her journey, she will have a far greater rate of return on her property investing because she knows more. Does that make sense? Yeah. She's going to have more skill, more knowledge, and more money to play with, and therefore the profits will be larger and more readily available to her. Yeah? Doesn't mean it won't be hard, doesn't mean it doesn't require work, but there will be a greater level of confidence. Then there will be down here with perhaps less money and less skill starting off. Can you see that? So in that then, we need to figure out a way of calculating out goals in such a way that it reflects the reality of growth. Cool. Half process being half-life third value. So this is... Can you see the process beginning to come together? And it continues by closing the gap between our end game goal and what we need to be doing within the next 12 months. The conversation after that shifts to what do we need to be doing tomorrow. So in our next conversation, we will explore how Half-Life Third Value really works and how we can make it a solid reality check for what we can achieve as our financial outcome for life. I'm looking forward to actually sharing this with you because it's a very powerful way to build enthusiasm and a sense of belief for accomplishing the goals that you want to achieve. Until we meet again, invest wisely.